Okay, awesome. So recording has started. Hello, everyone. My name is Tan. Thank you for joining us for the latest Kumi Now online gathering. If you're new here and would like to learn more about Kumi Now or Sabil, we will provide some links in the chat just so you can check our work out, and then you can explore that later on as well. And I think my colleague Felipa will be adding that text into the chat. So today our topic will be actually an emergency session to hear developments in the West Bank. So we're really happy and grateful to be joined by Alice Kisiya to talk about settler violence and hear updates from her family and the current campaign to stop the displacement of her family and other families in Al Mahor. So the first part of our meeting will be dedicated to Alice, but please stay around after she leaves, as we will be dedicating the rest of the session to turning our knowledge into action as we engage in advocacy for Palestine. Before we start, I'd like to remind you that this session is being recorded and will be shared after the event. So please make sure your mic is off, and please take that into consideration if you have the opportunity to speak during the session. That said, I'll be collecting questions in the Q&A portion via chat. So if you have a question at any point, just make sure to ask it there, and I'll make sure that it gets around to Alice. So before Alice starts, I just wanted to introduce her a little bit, and then she'll talk a little bit about current developments and her story. Alice Kisiya, she is an activist based in the occupied West Bank. Israeli settlers initially attacked her family in the 31st of July with the protection of the Israeli military as they attempted to seize her family home by force in the Mahor area, which is located in Bet Jalla near Bethlehem. And since then, she's been a leader in raising awareness of land displacement, not just for her family, but across Palestine, and has been an active voice during Sabil's delegations. In fact, we've had 2 recent delegations, and she has been a really key voice and part of these delegations. So with that said, I wanted to welcome Alice, and Alice, feel free to start at any point. So thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. As you know, the settlers' violence is going extremely higher and wider and even more violent. They are planning to take over the lands in the West Bank, and we have to understand as people that the settlers are not moving alone. There are organizations behind them, and it's really important to understand that the organizations that they are funding these settlers are have been playing a very important role since many years, and one of them is the JNF. The JNF is a Jewish National Fund, for people they don't know. They do lots of campaigns about the green projects, and people abroad, they don't understand that the money goes directly to the settlements. So it's really to raise awareness among people, among organizations, and people who are still supporting the JNF and other Jewish or extremist Jewish Zionist organizations. So in my case, in my family case, we have been more than almost 20 years fighting them, and it's really hard, it's really dangerous, and it takes lots of power, lots of courage, lots of money, lots of everything, because they have been fighting us from everywhere. Financially, emotionally, physically, and all kind of struggles we've been through. So for me and my family, we were strong enough to stand up again each time they demolish, each time they demolished almost 25 times of demolition we've been facing. And just to mention that our house in 2000 in Intifada has been also demolished by the missiles and by the when it was the Intifada war. So it's like history repeating itself. But each time we have to learn that there is hope, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and we have to keep our faith and to think in many possible ways to fight them. The settlers come from many places, like the settlers that are in my land, they come from Argentina. The young settlers, they are homeless. The miners I'm talking about, and they come from orphans and welfares. Um, they come from the US, they come from Europe, they come from many countries. Um, the JNF and the way they are working is hiring miners through an agricultural school. People have to understand that this is the way that they are working to steal the lands in the West Bank, and they have been stealing and faking documents. Um, sorry. So the young settlers that come from orphans and welfares, they offer them a home. This home is an agricultural school. They volunteer their hours there, and they get paid from the national insurance. They don't get paid directly from the JNF. So the JNF is really smart that they don't pay them directly. So when we understand that the settlers are not moving alone, we can understand how to fight. Um, Wait, I just can't see. Okay, so my family story is one of many Palestinian families, and I need to point out that me and my family, without my father, we have an Israeli citizenship. My father have the a Palestinian one. In front of the police and the army and the settlers, there is a small difference in our case than other Palestinians around the West Bank, which is make it a little bit stronger in the way that we are defending our land. Um, but also, on the other hand, this case showed that even we Arabs, Christians, as Palestinians, as who have Israeli citizenship, um, this doesn't make us really having our rights here, because they proved that we are still second class citizens in this country. And I think it's really scaring also the Jewish friends that they were coming to support us, because this thing showed them that here in this country the settlers are the first class citizens. So I think this case has many stories unfolding, not only child abuse, not only land thefts, it's only many other things that people should be aware of this apartheid government that doing to their citizens as well. So I think now the situation is in for the land. I'm working on the legal stuff, on the legal position. It's really not easy to start working in legal way, because still we are in a wartime, which makes the military more powerful than any other courts. So we are being very careful in the way that we are acting. And each step we are taking, we have to think not once and not twice, three, four times, just to take any step before really start to move. Um, can you just hold on a second? I'm sorry, just 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I'm really sorry. I had to. Okay, so I'm working on many strategies on the field to go each, for example, once in a month, whenever the military order is finished, to go there and to prove them that we are still here. But on the other hand, I'm working on the legal side, but I'm being very careful because it's not easy to deal with them. It's not easy um, to go courts against them because we have been going to courts and we proved our ownership, and this is not, this is it didn't help, as we saw, because they used the military order. Since they didn't succeed kicking us out through the courts, they used the military order. So now we are being very careful in the way that we are dealing with this case. Some people, they don't have a legal background about how to deal with courts or how their lawyers are dealing with their own cases, because also the lawyers can be manipulated, and it's really hard. But for me and my family, we will not give up. We will keep fighting, and people should know that Christians here are facing so much apartheid, are facing so much danger, and Christians in Bethlehem are facing immigrations, displacement, and we are now minority in this country. We are now I don't know, even it's 0.0 something. And this is dangerous because if Christians started to immigrate from Bethlehem, they, there will be no Christianity in Bethlehem or in the Holy Land even. And this is so sad. And I know many families that already started to immigrate, around 40 family. Um, for me, it's very hard to leave this country. It's very hard to not defend my land. But for other people, some of them are helpless, some of them are weak, some of them are really tired. So it's very important for Christians abroad to talk about it, to raise awareness, and the churches to talk about Christians here and to provide more protections for Christians. And we are not the only family as well. There is also Nassar family that are facing the same thing. They have been in this case 30 years now. So this is what we need. We need more protection. We need more attention as Christians living in Bethlehem. And Al Makhrur needs protection because it is one of the last Christian villages. It connects 4 to 5 cities around Bethlehem, and um, it's historical. Um, this is a historical place that goes back to the Romans' time, and it really means a lot since Christianity. Uh, Lots of Christians belong to this place, and it's 91% for Christians from Bethlehem. So once the settlers told me, when we finish taking Al Makhrur, we will come to Bethlehem and kick all Christians out of this country because Bethlehem is it's for us. And I think it's the right time that Christians wake up everywhere and start acting, not just talking. So yeah, if there's any question, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think one thing that you said that I think was really powerful was, making that observation that settlers are first-class citizens and that there's an entire system and structures that are behind settlement expansion. I think maybe a lot of people coming from the West, maybe in terms of how they think about settlers, it's almost like a marginalized, like it's just like a tiny little portion, but actually it's a very significant aspect of how annexation of the West Bank is happening. So in terms of the international campaigns and the activists that are coming, how has that like impacted the way maybe you've been combating this. And then you also said, you mentioned how the approach, like when we understand what is behind them, our approach for it becomes different. Like we find different ways and better ways to combat this. So I just wanted to hear maybe more about your thoughts on that and your opinions on that.
For example, having an interfaith community in Al Makhrou was one of the most amazing thing that we did. And the woman-led circle that we had also was amazing. We use the feminine power in a way that to protect the um, men from being arrested or from being even getting harmed from the army or the settlers. We used many ways just to prevent violence, to prevent the army from arresting people, though they arrested me for nothing, but this is their strategy. So we had, for example, an interfaith vigils on 29 Sunday, where this church was built from Christians, Muslims, and Christian, Muslims, and Jewish. They built the first church in Al Makhrur. It was the first time that this thing happens in during the war and even before. Just making this interfaith in this Al Makhrur, it's such an amazing work to work together as people who want to fight the occupation and fight for human rights. And this week, we have the military order finished in 26. So we are having a Friday, Saturday, an interfaith Shabbat, where Jewish friends will join us to do their Friday, and we will sleep over there. And on Saturday we will march to the land. So I'm also planning for the next month to have a big conference, international one, where because the JNF is doing from 14 to 17 of November a conference in Dallas about the green projects that they are doing. So
Well, I think Alice, I'm not sure if she left the room. There's a bit of a technology, so let me see what I can do.
sorry, I think yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So what I'm planning to do is that on those days, we're gonna have a global conference about the JNF and about their role in displacing people from their homes and lands, and their role in hiring kids for their own dirty work. And plus, we like we're gonna do it globally, but it's gonna be like planting a tree day where all people around the world that in our interfaith global community will be planting a tree for Save al Makhrur and for Save Palestinian lands. So this will show them that we, the people, are planting trees. We don't need organizations. We can do that by ourselves. You are uprooting trees, but we will plant trees. We will plant our lands, and we will make Palestine green again. So for now, this is my plans. Every time I have another plans I'm making for you know to fight them in a good way. This is a good fight for me and for other people and for Christians and interfaith communities to be together and to do something really noticeable. Like this time it's gonna be different than any time. So yeah.
What was the date? Someone asked what the exact date was for the plant a tree day.
I will announce it. I didn't announce it yet. I'm gonna plan for it, but it's gonna be in November next month. So I have a global interfaith group on WhatsApp for anyone who wants to join us. Um, I can send you the link as well to the chat group.
Yeah, that would be great. And I think Kathy, you're raising your hand. Do you have a question?
Thank you. I would like to know, I know that people feel very isolated. People feel, that not, we're not with you and so on. Here in Canada, we are doing many things, but I think it's probably not so much, affecting you directly. Like we have a group that is only organizing visits to Ottawa and with MPs, members of Parliament. We have a walk for grief every Saturday morning. My question to you is, what is it that you would like us to do that would make you feel like we're more connected to you and like we're supporting you more directly? Because some of these other things are all indirect things that we are doing to educate and to bring our people in Canada along. So what is something specific or some things that we could do?
First of all, anything you are doing, even if I'm not seeing that, I'm sure you are doing something for us who are living here and for people. Maybe we don't see, but I'm sure you are doing.
A lot.
I'm sure. Things are just it needs time, and I'm sure it's not really easy to work on it, but we can make, for example, more conferences, more workshops, more to really raise awareness for people, especially in the US, in Canada, and Europe. But we can make more workshops, um, talk about more how the GNF role in displacing people and how they are funding settlements, because the GNF has a big role. All other organizations are their daughter company. For example, Himinota, which is the daughter company of the GNF, um, it has many cases that deal in the West Bank territories. It's not directly to the GNF. They are smarter than that. But raising awareness about how these organizations are connected to the GNF and how the GNF is connecting to uprooting trees and making Palestine spoiled, it's really important. And also about what's really happening to Christians in West Bank, in Bethlehem, and everywhere in the Holy Land, and how it's important to protect Christianity, the cradle of Jesus Christ. It's, as I said before, if Christians, the Palestinian Christians immigrated, there will be no Christianity. There will be no Christians in Bethlehem, because we, the Palestinians, are living here. We protect the cradle of Jesus. We protect the all the Holy Land, all the Christians, places. But the minute that we feel helpless, we feel weak, there will be no other ways to protect Christianity everywhere, because they are they are expanding like a cancer, and we should make more webinars, more conferences, workshops about this. And I think people, when they start to wake up, when they start to realize the importance of Christianity and to protect the Christian lands, it will make a change. And especially the churches, I believe that the churches are very powerful to stop the settlers' land thefts and the settlers' violence in the West Bank. They are really powerful. So um, for example, for me in my family case, it's really important also to talk about it and to make more advocacy, and maybe share the funding, GoFund link, which will support us to keep fighting this struggle. And just, you know, talking about this case, not making it die. It's really important for us here, because I know there are lots of stories around the West Bank and in general in Palestine, but we need to keep talking, we need to keep fighting, and we need to start working. And one of the things that I suggested by planting a tree, it's very important that we plant a tree to save Palestinian lands, to save Al Makhrur. And each time we plant a tree, we can raise more awareness worldwide.
Thank you, Alice. I think Margaret has a question. If you want to unmute, Margaret.
Thank you so much, Alice, for this. Like Kathy, I'm a Canadian, but I live in Scotland, in Glasgow, in fact. And Glasgow, the city here, an old city in Scotland, is twinned with Bethlehem. And that twinning is recognized in a variety of ways. There's a Bethlehem Cultural Festival that takes place in the United Kingdom, and part of that every year is held here in Glasgow. And what you have been telling us so movingly is something which we should be addressing here in Glasgow. And I very much hope that we can do that. There is quite a lot going on here, including interfaith actions. There are weekly protest demonstrations. They are interfaith, Jewish, Muslim, Christians, and others join in these in numbers. There's also fundraising for medical aid for Palestinians here, and other programs of that kind on a very regular basis. And we hope to very soon establish a hub in Glasgow, in an area of the city that is where there's a large footfall, to be a meeting place, an information place, a center where Palestine can be foregrounded very much. Edinburgh is fortunate in having a fair trade shop called Hadil, founded by someone who's very much a supporter. She may be here today with her husband, Carol Morton, years ago, and that operates as a hub in the capital of Scotland. But Glasgow, as I say, is twinned with Bethlehem. And so I hope that we can work here in Glasgow in cooperation with you on the projects that you have described to us, and especially, well, the focus on Bethlehem itself and its important history for us all, its important story coming up, as one of the others in the chat has just said, in the season of Advent. But Al Makhrur and its needs should be very much in our not just in our hearts, but in our actions. So thank you very much, and I hope we can. I'll make sure that we are in touch directly with you.
Thank you so much, Margaret. And I hope that any groups that come from Sabil, from Kumi, from any, especially Christian organizations, that can come more and more to Al Makhrur, to visit, to Bethlehem. And because we shouldn't be afraid of anything, because the minute that we increase the people who are visiting Bethlehem, we will bring more attention on how to protect Christianity and Christians in Bethlehem, and the interfaith groups and the interfaith actions we take together, it's really very powerful against the occupiers. You didn't see when we did the Sunday vigil, when we had Christians, Muslims, and Jews praying in Sunday vigil by Munder Isaac. They came and they didn't do anything. They just left. It's very strong. It's very powerful, and we need to work on that.
Thank you so much for that witness. Thank you.
Deborah, you have a question as well? Deborah, can you hear me? Okay.
Whenever I see the settlement views and the, you know, and I was working with teenagers on our nature reserve, their account, but we developers come in and sort of buy up land, and they use all the pressures they can. And I know this is in England, but I'm thinking of our history with the enclosure movement. And one thing we learned, I suppose, in England is getting the community, everybody involved, even if it's not their own land, try and find out why they're being such a nuisance. I mean, we've had vandalism on nature reserves, and what we do locally is we try and find out that they want the land, then we find out why, and then it's often boredom, and can do more damage than anything else. And it's and I don't know how you can do it, but at the end of the day, I think settlers are still human beings, and they look like bored youths. That's why whenever I see them, I think of the louts on our estate and thinking, not doing up to any good. And I just wondered if somehow you could actually kind of, I know they want the land, but somehow get them on board. That's what I'm trying to say. It's very difficult in a war situation, but if you did, it could reduce the problem. Now, I don't know how you're going to do that, but it might be impossible. But that's what we've done in Britain, is get people who are troublesome on board, and when they're busy helping you, they're less likely to bother you. And we've had prisoners doing conservation work. We've had all kinds of schemes where they actually, with the church, you could actually get youngsters who are trouble in the community to do something physical on the land for you. And this is what we did in Britain. We got youths who would help out, and it would give them skills. It would make, and it's one way. I don't know if it was working in the Holy Land, but that's what we do in Britain anyway. So I just to raise that.
Thank you, Deborah. As you said, we have to work more with, for example, making them stressed and thinking about us, what we are gonna do each month. This is very important for me, because these settlers have never faced people are facing them in such way. So for me and for my family, we will keep working on these strategies to make them feel weak. You don't have to fight, you don't have to go violent with them, but there are many things that you can do, because I believe that they are scared. Because they are thieves, and they know they are stealing lands, and I am sure at night they have nightmares, but because the evil inside them are eating their head, and their heart. That's why they are pretending that they are strong, but I'm sure they are weaker than anyone here in Palestine.
Thank you, Alice, for that. I think so Diane, you have a question. There's a lot of movement in the chat, so I see another question. So Diane, if you have a question, please ask, and then I'll ask the question from the chat.
Yes, Alice, you are absolutely an inspiration. So thank you. I live in New York State, where the settler organizations have charitable status, and there is a campaign called Not on Our Dime, and the inspiration for that came from a couple of people, but it included the Good Shepherd Collective. I wonder if you know Cody O'Rourke and work with him in any way. And I think that you are a model for nonviolent resistance, and we use your story to mobilize. Unfortunately, the situation, the genocide, has put that on the back burner, but we need to be totally focusing on the West Bank as well. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you, Diane. Actually, this is their strategy. They want to use the war to steal more lands and to get more violent in the West Bank. And this is the point, to make people not to think about the West Bank, because the things that they are doing in the West Bank are even the worst that ever happened, like since many years. And this is their point, just to make people focus and media focusing on the war while doing their dirty work in the West Bank. But we will keep talking, we will keep raising our voices, and we will keep fighting because I think love is much stronger than any weapon, and this is what Jesus taught us. So when you face, I know maybe some people say, okay, what might love make you do? It will make you defeat them. And I'm saying, yes, it will defeat, because love is stronger than hate. And when all people, interfaith people, they join together, they fight together in a good fight, in a non-violent resistance, it will be different. It will take us to another level.
I see one more question here in the chat. That, and I think you answered it a little bit, but if you want to expand on it, of what do you think the motivations are of the youth who are engaged in the violence in your land? And maybe you can share more about the insights into that relationship between a Jewish National Fund and the settler violence a little bit more.
The youth, about their relationship with the JNF?
Yeah, and why are they so
Yeah.
motivated to be violent specifically?
Okay, so what they do is that they bring these young settlers from orphans and welfares, and even from the streets. They offer them a home. This home is an agricultural school. Okay, for example, they took our land, they settle in, they start doing farming, and this is their volunteering hours in this school. Okay, so if they don't show up to this school, they don't get money from the national insurance. And this way, the kids have to do their job, even if they don't understand why, even if they don't know why, but they have to do so because they want to earn money. And most of these kids have a tough past, have been through many things, psychological problems, and they get medicine. Okay, and also if they don't do their volunteering hours, they will not get paid, they will not get their medicine. And this is how they are brainwashed as well, because they convince them that these lands are from God, and this is how they control the youth. And this is how they, even once when I was fighting, confronting the settlers, I saw how lost they are, how sad they are. They are smelling alcohol. They are on drugs, and I understand that this is not their option. This is not their what they want, but they have no options. They have no other ways just to do what others want to.
Yeah, thank you so much for elaborating on that. I know we're running a little short on time, so I did want to bring up, I know there was like a makeshift church that you built with other activists recently. So I would love to hear a little bit more about, the activities that happened in the church. I know it got destroyed as well. So yeah, I would love to hear a little bit more about like what happened with that.
So since that it's a Christian lands, we as a family wanted to show that this belongs to Christians, not settlers. And we didn't tell anyone that we are building a church with other people, sorry, that joined us. So even friends and family members that came to that day to the vigil, they didn't know that we are doing our prayers in the church. So we have built it in 3 days, drawing good things, nice things, like it looks like a church. And we we brought everything that's needed to be inside the church, candles, everything. So this church, it was like a puzzle. We set it up like a puzzle in 1 hour and a half before the vigil, so the army won't come and just prevent us from doing it there. So in 1 hour and a half, Christians, Muslims, and Jews activists, they built it together. We put the cross, and the second that the army came, we started our vigil, our prayers, and they stayed there like half an hour, and they didn't do anything because they also saw a religious Jews, a religious Muslims, and the religious Christians are there, and they couldn't do anything. And this was very strong because it was challenging. I was I was stressed, but it went very, very good. And the second day they called us from the civil administration and from army. They told us to put down the cross so they can come and demolish the church. They don't call it a church for some reason, but we didn't accept that. So the third day they came, they demolished, they took it down as like very carefully, and they took it with them. They also demolished for 3 other Christians people that have small rooms around the area, an agricultural room. So they were so angry that they demolished for other people, and they took the church, though other people have their own documents and everything, and it's an agricultural place. And even if you want to make an agricultural room, it doesn't need a permission. And even the church, it doesn't need a permission because it's not um, cement, it's not blocks, it's from wood, and it's not against the nature. They say you cannot build because it's agricultural place, it's agricultural area. But why you are giving the settlers to put caravans and containers in Palestinian lands in that area, and to uproot trees and to provide it for the settlers? Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And it was a really creative way you guys built the church. I'm sure, I'm hoping
Yeah,
that.
we called it the Church of Nation.
Yeah, I hope that it continues again. And I know you said that there's a upcoming interfaith solidarity visit there. So if there's any other questions, please put it in the chat and I'll ask. And then, but other than that, I think Alice, you shared the WhatsApp group chat. So if you want to connect more with Alice and the people who are organizing things around the world, you can join the WhatsApp group. Alice, if you want to just like put the link again in the chat, I think, so that people can join. And then Philippa, my colleague, also shared the GoFundMe link. So that's one way you can also support Alice's family. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us in terms of supporting and sharing your story?
Just to maybe to have more connections for people, for activists to come and join us. At least on the events that I'm doing once in a month, and even to have more people come to visit Al Makhrur, where they can also have this is so supportive.
Yeah, thank you, Alice. And you can follow
Thank you.
Alice on her social media. There's also Save Al Mahfoud. They also have a social media page on Instagram, I believe. I don't know if they have a Facebook, but they're online, so you can check them out as well. And then
Thank you.
again, the group chat will be really helpful. But thank you so much, Alice, for coming also on a short
Thank you for
notice,
your time.
sharing your story.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Now we'll turn now to the action portion. Alice, if you need to leave and you're busy, feel free to leave, but we'll be doing the action portion of our session now. So obviously the first action point from Alice's talk is if you want to join the WhatsApp group chat and then look at the GoFundMe campaign, you can donate and support the efforts there. So that's just the first point. Is I'll give people some time to do that. And then we also have some actions ongoing from last week that I'll share the links to. I also saw just throughout our conversation today that there's a lot of activities happening, that people have been sharing news and things. So I would love to have this also be a time of space for people to share developments that have been happening, as well as current actions. I know there was like a church letter that was being shared. So if you have anything, raise your hand and I'll call on you, and then we can hear those updates as well.